Ohayou gozaimasu! Genki desu ka, minasan? Welcome to the Tachi Yomi podcast. I'm your host, Joseph Shinji, and we have our co-host, Benjamin.
Hey, everyone.
Hey, and we have a guest for today's podcast. We're really excited to introduce our guest, Joy Maki.
Hi.
Hi, how's it going, Joy?
It's cold here in Ireland and wet, but I'm good.
Yeah, it's gotten really cold this weekend over here too in the past few days. It's same over there?
Yeah, it's actually storming kind of thing, so. But there's like typhoons everywhere, so.
Yeah. Well, it hasn't been super rainy over here, but man, it got cold so quickly.
It got really cold this week. Like, I think it dropped from like 70 or 80 to like 40 in like a day or so. So it's like,
yeah, it was pretty bad. Yeah, I walked outside in the morning and it was like, oh, it's freezing. I went back and had to go get some more clothes and stuff like that. But yeah. So, are you enjoying your time studying abroad?
Yeah, it's been fun.
So, you've been studying abroad in?
I've been studying abroad in Galway, Ireland for a month and a half now. And
nice.
Yeah, it's the life of the party and Guinness and beer and I don't drink beer, but yeah.
Well, what's your favorite thing about Ireland so far, and what's the thing you don't like? Maybe something you don't like so much.
My favorite thing so far is like I love the Saturday markets, which is basically like a farmer market that they have in city center, and that's like medieval old rocks, like city pavement, and it's very beautiful. Like, and just like city center is very awesome, and
yeah,
almost everything's in walking distance, like 30 minutes walking distance, but it's really nice. I do not like the rain as much, but yeah, I miss Kentucky.
Yeah, really? You miss Kentucky? I
can't believe I'm going to say this, but I miss my home college. So
yeah. Does it really rain as much as they like make like the stereotype where it's like they're like, oh, it's raining every single day?
I think that feels like more like London stereotype. Like I think Galway is more like it's misty most of the time, and you just always carry out your umbrella or just a raincoat. You just put it in your bag. You just don't know when it's going to rain.
I see.
And it just happens sometimes for like 10 minutes, very hard rain, and then it stops. But then it's like sunny for the rest of the day. So
I see.
It's just crazy weather. Yeah.
Well, I think all over the world right now we're having pretty crazy weather. So
yeah.
No bad. Yeah. Hey, so Benjamin, are you happy that your sister is not at the college at the moment? Or are you super sad and disappointed because you can't spend time with her?
I'm sad that she's not here because I'm meeting all the people and they're like, oh, you're Joy's sister. And like one of my friends actually like yesterday was saying that, you know, like, oh, your sister's like so hot and all that. And she was
what?
She was seeing like the presentation of like your thing that you went to New York. They had like this website on like, not website, but like on the computer. And she was like, oh man, your sister's hot. And I'm like, okay. So, but
man.
I mean, everyone really likes you, and I could really see that here. And
okay.
Wait, so everyone is trying to hit on Joy through you then? They're like, hey, Benjamin, can you tell your sister I think she's really hot?
I don't know.
Like grade school stuff.
I've heard some things from my friends about you.
It wasn't like that. It wasn't like that. No. It was just that she said you were really pretty. So that's what she was saying.
Well, I've heard some things about you through my friends. That you hang
All
out
right,
with a lot of
ladies and gentlemen, we should start our podcast.
What's the movie we're going to be talking about today, Joseph?
Well, today's podcast is Howl's Moving Castle. We had a lot of requests for this podcast and a lot of people who wanted to come on as guests. I'm sorry, we had a raffle and unfortunately. Very fortunately, we're very happy to have Joy as our guest for this podcast.
Yeah, she beat all her other competitors, and she, won the raffle by, very coincidentally, just was able to come on this show.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
It's very prestigious. The fact that you're able to join this podcast, you should be very proud of yourself. It's one of the greatest achievements in life.
It's not like I'm a Studio Ghibli expert or anything. It's not like I own every single Studio Ghibli movie or anything, you know.
Yeah, exactly. No, you were chosen for your expertise and your knowledge, of course. Okay, so tell us, what is the plot synopsis of the movie? Okay, so that's one of the things. We'll be talking about the books a little bit, but we'll be focusing, of course, on the animation movie. Tell us the plot summary of the movie, Joy.
So it's basically this youngish girl that works at a shop and happens to meet this magician, and he helps her out in town. And then, for some reason, there's this witch that comes to her shop and puts a curse on her and makes her into like a 9-year-old hag. And she runs away and happens to stumble upon Howl's moving castle. And she kind of convinces him to employ herself as a cleaning lady. And, you know, I don't know how that turns into romance, but it turns into romance. And Howl grows up, and Sophie learns how to accept herself, and there's a little bit of action in war, and then magic was broken, and yeah, I don't know. And there's a happy ending in the end. Everyone's happy in the end. So.
That's good. So, I remember years ago when we were talking about it, you were telling me this was one of your favorite Studio Ghibli movies of all time. Is that still true or no?
Yeah, it's still one of my top staple, animations.
Number one?
I don't know.
Wait, what changed? In the past, you were such a big believer in Howl's Moving Castle.
No, I do. I do love it, but I like the original books also. So, and that's also what's different. I don't know. I like Porco Rosso now. Probably.
Hey, that was my favorite movie. Don't take mine. Why are you taking my favorite movie?
That's such bullcrap. There's no way. Wait, seriously? There's no way that's your favorite.
Seriously, that is my favorite movie by far. Like.
Well,
you mean Porco Rosso?
I said Porco Rosso.
Oh, I thought you meant Howl's Moving Castle.
No. I meant Porco Rosso.
Okay, I see. Well, yeah.
There's so many new ones that I haven't watched in depth yet. Like, I've watched it once or twice, but I haven't watched it many, many times over again. So, like, you know, there's the new Studio Pontiac that, like, created the Mary and the Witch's Flower or something like that.
Yeah.
I watched that. That was pretty good, too. So, like, it's still one of the tops. But, yeah. You know, there's always the staples of, like, Spirited Away, and what's the
Nausicaa?
Nausicaa, yeah.
Yeah, Mononoke Hime, yeah. Yeah. Well, if you can't tell from my sarcasm,
you hate this movie.
No, I do not. It's not that I hate it. I just think it's overrated. Okay. I think it's overrated. This is incredible. Actually, we can talk about this. Of all the different Studio Ghibli movies out there, this is by far the most divisive and controversial movie, which is kind of surprising if you actually watch the movie. But there's a big divide in the fandom between people who think this is like the best movie in the world, and then people who like me who are like, so what? This is not so special. I happen to think that, I think it's overrated. I think it's gotten to the point where everyone is talking about it's so good that I think it's overrated now. I don't think it's as good as a lot of his other things. His best piece, his best movie, that's a really hard thing to say, but I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think if you just look at the aspect of the romance of the movie, the majority of female viewers would love this movie. Okay. I don't know so much of the male aspect, but guys I know, at least from my high school back in Japan, they like this movie too, because, you know, it's a sweet love story. That's not thinking of, like, what it means in a cinematic, rating or criticism. It's just the voice of the people.
I see.
that
I see.
don't think so deep into movies. I think they just enjoy it. It's entertaining. Don't you think it's entertaining though?
I think
Like,
it's
bottom line.
okay. I'll say my opinion. I think there's some parts of the movie that I like, but like the majority, I think I like it. It's like I said, I don't think it's best. That's just my personal opinion. I don't think it's the best Studio Ghibli movie, but I think it's very like visually appealing, like very wide range of colors, and like it's very like pleasing to the eye, and like but also like you said, like if you just look at the story and analyze it as a film, I guess it doesn't make sense, and like the ending is very strange, and like there's some like contradictions in the movie, but like so like I wouldn't say like it's maybe the best, but I really enjoy it. Like, you know, I have a favorite character, and like I really like him, and then he's just like I think it's I can really relate with Sophie in that sense, so that's why I kind of like this movie. But like at the same time, you know, there's parts that I like don't like. So yeah, that's just my.
You guys brought up two things that I wanted to talk about. One thing, I really do agree. It is one of the most like visually entertaining Ghibli movies. I think it's very fantastic. It's very whimsical. I think it's very entertaining to watch the visual aspect. Another thing, Joy, that you were talking about. Would you say this is the best done romance? If it's just a romance, would you say it's the best of all the Ghibli films? Because some films have it, other films don't. Like, but if you're just looking at the romance aspect.
If I'm just looking at the romance aspect, just the growth of the two individuals of the movie, Howl's growth as a person and then Sophie's growth as a person, both, you know, growing up or realizing that who they are is enough and accepting each other for that, I think in that sense it is one of the best romances or the most complicated ones within the Studio Ghibli universe.
Because a lot of the other ones are a lot more, they're younger, right? Because the protagonists are younger.
Yeah.
And it's more like first innocence, getting to know someone for the first time.
Yeah.
But this one, there's more depth to that romance, maybe.
I mean, in the bottom line, I think both Howl and Sophie, like, hate each other in some point. And who can't relate to that? Like, everyone hates, you know, some part of yourself and, like, you want to change and stuff. So, like, I think that's what makes them relatable, too. It's just they're more dramatic about it and over the top, but...
I see.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's get into it. Thank you for doing the plot summary. So one of the things that in the very beginning of the movie, so Sophie she's the oldest of three kids, right?
Yes.
And she's a very, she thinks, big asterisks here, that she's a very plain and boring and normal person.
Yes.
But she encounters Howl kind of by accident, but he saves her. And then all of a sudden the witch of the waste comes and puts a curse on her. So like, one of the things that is not very clear in the movie is why Sophie, of all the different people out there, in a sense, like Sophie is a very boring, plain person. Why is she the person who gets the curse on her, on the witch of the waste? What do you think? Benjamin.
Well, I think that Sophie really struggles with like how she views herself. She doesn't think she's pretty. She thinks she's plain and all that. But this is just me thinking. I think that the Witch of the Waste kind of got jealous in a sense, and like the Witch of the Waste. Like I think the whole thing about the Witch of the Waste is like she wants to stay young. She wants to stay beautiful. And then there's this girl that's like, oh, you know, I'm not pretty. Oh, I'm just normal. Oh, I'm so boring. But like, you know, I think, in a sense, it could be the Witch of the Waste is kind of jealous in that sense, and also, like...
Wait, so she's jealous of that fake... Well, so the Witch of the Waste thinks that Sophie is being fake and pretending to, say all those things?
She's being fake. She's jealous of her youth and her beauty. And, like...
Okay.
And then I think that, you know, also that it's just that... I really don't like. I don't know why she targeted Sophie, but that's just what I think.
Well, I also think it's jealousy, but I think she's in the movie. I thought it said that she was like she has been in love with Oh, damn it. Howl. That's right. She's been in love with Howl for a very, very long time. And I agree it's jealousy, but I think she's jealous of Sophie because Sophie had that one interaction with
Howl.
With Howl. And, look at me. I'm already forgetting the main character's name. It's plastered on the title, but I can't remember. No, but it's almost like that jealous ex that's not over you. And the moment that person sees Howl or sees Sophie with another Howl with another person, like the Witch of the Waste, like totally freaks out. And I think she's jealous of Sophie because she's like thinks that Sophie and Howl are an item or together, even though like it's only been one interaction.
Yeah, it's kind of funny how Howl's actions like bring misfortune to others because that wasn't Sophie's fault. It was Howl that hit on Sophie, and it was Howl that even talked to the Witch of the Waste and got her jealous in the first place because he approached her because he was attracted to her powerfulness and magic, and that's how they knew each other.
This is a long time ago before the story, right?
Yeah, this is before the actual story. And they do mention it in the movie, like how it explains, like, oh, I was, like, misguided. I just was attracted to her because of her magic, but then she's this crazy, jealous person, so, yeah.
Well, one of the things that you were talking about before in the book, it's a little bit different, right? Why?
Yes, so the book explains so much more than the movie does of who Sophie is. So, Sophie in the books is the oldest of 3 siblings, and then she also has a stepmother who is very, very young. And of course, they lose their father. Sophie's the oldest, who owns the hat shop. And the second youngest is, what's her name again? Letty?
Martha? Oh, wait, I thought Letty was the youngest.
No, Letty is the middle. She's the beautiful one that works at the bakery and as a waitress and whatnot. And then there's a third sister actually called Martha. And in this world, she goes to like a wizarding school or like a magic school. So in this world, there's magic everywhere. And you either train to be a magician or you're born with it. And it's never explained in the movies, but Sophie actually has magical powers. So when she creates hats in her hat shop, she's actually breathing in life and magic into the things she touches or creates. So that's why
the hats are so special, right?
Yeah, they're so special and beautiful, like, and that's why it's very popular, and her store, goes on and is popular. Yeah.
So then the Witch of the Waste sees Sophie doing that, right?
Yes. Oh, yeah. So in the books, actually, the Witch of the Waste actually notices that Sophie has magical powers. And she's not so much as... She probably is still jealous of, like, the interaction with Howl, like, hitting on her, but it's more, like, she takes... Sophie doesn't really realize she has magical powers. That's the thing in the books. And so Sophie makes these hats and beautiful, but the Witch of the Wasteland thinks that Sophie is challenging her on her own turf. So she is actually... feeling violated that this upcoming young new witch is taking over her territory. So that's why she tries to see who she is, goes to her hat shop and confronts her, and then ultimately curses her.
Yeah.
So you could say it was kind of the misunderstanding of the Witch of the West because Sophie didn't know that and she wasn't intending it, but like the Witch of the Waste thought she was challenging her. So like it was the Witch of the Waste misunderstood that in that sense. Probably.
Yeah. So there's like many different reasons why she might have gotten cursed, but it's one of the things I was thinking about in the introduction of the movie. It was actually a very good introduction, I think. Sometimes movies, the beginnings are too long. It takes too long introducing characters, or it takes too long until the actual story starts. Mm-hmm. In this story, you meet the 3 most important characters, basically Sophie, Howl, and the Witch of the Waste, very early on. And it kind of throws you right into the story. Immediately, Sophie gets the curse. And then the story, there's not action, but there's plot, there's progress. And that was something I was thinking I was watching the movie. I think it was very good in the sense the beginning was very good. of how in that dynamic and how it starts the story.
Yeah, I definitely love the storytelling of the animation. Like, there's not very many lines within the first 10, 15 minutes of the story. It's just, these are the people, this is kind of who they are, you know, their stereotypes, or like, there's some people that you can recognize, and it happens. And then she goes off and finds Howl's moving castle in the wasteland.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
One of the things I feel like the problem with new movies is that they try too much like narration or plot exposition. Whereas this movie, it doesn't do that, but it shows you the world without like dumping information. And I think that's like a really good thing this movie does. So next, after she gets the curse, okay, I have a problem with this. After she gets the curse, what the heck, Sophie? She goes to the wasteland because... Why? Why are you gonna go to the wasteland just because you're cursed? Why can't you tell your sister or your mom? See, I have a problem with this. What the heck? Why are you leaving your whole family to go to the wasteland to die? Like, what's wrong with you? What do you think, Joy or Benjamin? Like,
yeah, I think she just hates herself, but also doesn't want to become a problem to other people, and that's why she leaves. Like, how is she gonna explain to her sisters or her stepmother, like, she's a 90-year-old grandma? Like, how
a witch cursed me.
Yeah,
no, remember,
but like,
Joseph, remember, like the curse was that she can't tell other people.
That's right. Wait, what if she could write it down?
You can't talk about it.
I'm joking. Yeah. Yes.
But yeah, I think she just, I don't know. I relate to that. I don't want to be a problem to people, so I run away sometimes. So I don't know why she went to that specific place. I just think she was trying to run away. Like, and remove herself from the situation.
I see. What do you think, Benjamin?
I agree with Joy, but like I think that that she, like, first of all, like, she couldn't tell the curse to no one else, and I think she kind of felt like hopeless in the sense that like no one can help her, and also not just the fact that she felt like it was going to be a burden, but like she didn't know what to do. So like, and like she couldn't tell people about her curse, so she decides to go to the wasteland, I guess. And like, you know, I don't know if she really had any like, not like, you know, hope in the sense that she knew that Hal was going to help her. I don't think she had any of that. Like, even when she meets Hal, she doesn't meet him for her to help her with the curse or like fix her curse. So like, I don't think that was like, I think she kind of has already given up on like getting cured, her curse getting cured in that sense. And I think,
but that's actually a really good point though. Benjamin, we can talk about this more, but in a way, when she's meeting Hal, she's not expecting anything from him.
No.
And also, one of the best things about Sophie is that she's not selfish in a way. She's not like, oh, you should break this curse for me. She's very willing to serve, don't you think?
Yeah.
Like, she's, like, that's one of the really good qualities about her, I think.
I agree.
I agree too.
And this, in a way, growing old, this curse, even though it's cursed her and she's grown super old, in many ways, I think it's also very freeing for her too, because she's so bound by her past life and her sense of duty and this idea that she's a boring, plain person and she's never going to amount to much. Like, this is her whole life up until this moment. But the moment she becomes old, she has a sense of humor. She's funny. She's going to go challenge things. And even though in the beginning it's kind of like going out in the waste, in a way, this curse does free her from her past life to go and walk her own path for the first time, I think.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. Well, so Sophie meets Hal. Maybe we should talk a little bit about Hal too. Do you think Hal is a good... Okay, would you want to date Hal? Would you fall in love with Hal?
Okay.
Do you think Hal is a good person or no?
This is like a two-way question, or like, in the movies, yes. He's portrayed as this guy who saves her from, you know, these soldiers heckling with her or catcalling her, and he's the one who just like walks in, just sweeps her off her feet literally into the sky and brings her down. But no, in the books, the only reason he's outside ever is to find girls and flirt with them. Like, he's this very selfish, obnoxious, rich, childish magician that doesn't... You kind of get that in the movie once they start living together, but, like, the initial, interaction you have with him is, oh, he's such a nice guy, just, helping me, saving me. Like, I mean, and I guess that's a typical hero, but I didn't like... So, it's like, you don't like Howl till the very end once he grows up.
In the books?
Yeah, both. No, both in the books and the movie. But it's just in the books he's actually more terrible than he's portrayed in the movie. In the books he's just trash, honestly. But that makes it so much more interesting. He grows so much more,
Well, why? Okay, so explain more. Why is he so much more trash in the books?
I don't know. I think it's also kind of like a reverse gender thing, because, like, in the books, because Sophie becomes ugly and she's a female, which her, value is based on appearance and beauty and stuff. And
well, that's how the world...
That's how the world is... Not necessarily that's true, but Howl is also... But he's more... captured in the sense of, like, he spends as much time as a woman would spend on makeup, hair, perfume, and clothes. And yeah, so it's like the flip side of, like, he's this beautiful young man but has nothing inside, and Sophie's this not so beautiful but this wonderful person that doesn't realize her worth. So, like, it's like their outside appearances aren't matching their inside of who they are. And I think that's what the story is about, is, like, realizing for Sophie, like, it doesn't matter what you look, you're a wonderful person. And Howl, like, humble yourself, because you're not as great as you think you are, kind of thing.
Yeah. Benjamin, do you like Howl or no?
I think he's really... I mean... in the end, he changes, but I think he's pretty trash in, like, the beginning. Like, or not just the beginning, but, like, he's really like, I'm so good, and I'm so pretty, oh, look at me, and, like, that's kind of, over, like, kind of being dramatic, but I think he really doesn't, like, care about any, like, he's very apathetic in the sense that, like, he's like, oh, like, you're not pretty, I don't care, or, like, I care about how pretty I am, I care about, like, me. It's like, he is very self-centered in that sense.
I agree.
Like, you could really tell that early on. And then, but at the time, I think what's beautiful about this whole story is that, like, how he learns to, like, care about other people, or, like, he starts to change. And Sophie, in the sense, like, changes in the sense that, like, she can view herself more positively, and she knows that someone cares for her. And I think that change on both sides really is what makes the movie good. But I think how beginning, of course, like, he's very trash, and I wouldn't even dare talk with him. But it's just he's the kind of guy that I'd be like, oh, this guy's just hopping from girl to girl, and just I wouldn't like him.
He is a playboy.
Yeah. But one of the things I thought too, like, in the movie, one of the reasons I thought he was so childish or immature is because I felt like maybe it was my misunderstanding, I felt like he basically, when he signed that contract with Calcifer, the fire demon who fell from a falling star and was about to die, but he signs a contract, so Howl signs a contract with this fire demon Calcifer, and Howl gives up his heart, so that, in a way, Calcifer can live on. In exchange, Howl will get great magical power. I feel like even though Howl might have, like, physically, he might have grown from that, but I feel like he never grew mentally from that. He was always... I felt... Maybe my misunderstanding is from the movie, but I almost felt like he always stayed that child inside and just never grew up from that. And maybe that's one of the reasons why he's so vain or so immature.
I think that can be an interpretation, yeah, like, totally. It's like this little child gaining this great power, and then, once you have this big power, what's the point of training human skills? Because you could make people do whatever you want to do, so of course you're going to become selfish, like.
Yeah, yeah. And another thing that you lightly touched on before, he's a playboy, right? In the movie, it doesn't really show it very much. I mean, it shows it a little bit. Well, the interesting thing I thought they changed in the movie, maybe Hayao Miyazaki was just trying to make Howl into a more likable character or main protagonist.
Probably.
But in the books, he's the magician that steals girls' hearts, right? But in the movie, they say he's the magician who eats girls' hearts or something like that, right?
Yeah. Actually, it was rumored in the movie version, anime version, they lightly mention about Sophie and Letty when like they're in the story. They're like, oh, aren't those the sisters who their other sister's heart got eaten by Howl? Like, and that's the only mention they mention of Martha, the third sister. But in the books, like, no, it's not. It's what the girls end up saying because they're ashamed that they couldn't catch Howl's heart, and they blame it on him, kind of thing. They make him the bad guy.
Interesting. Wait, so in the books, they kind of say like, the girls want to be with Howl then. Yeah,
so it's more the girls blaming Howl that like they couldn't get him, so they kind of say, oh, he ate my heart, he's the bad guy, like it's not my fault that I couldn't get him, kind of thing. So he's actually portrayed as the bad guy sometimes when it wasn't even his fault, but it is kind of his fault because he is very flirtatious, and that's how he got in trouble with the Witch of the West, because he's the one who approached her. It wasn't the other way around. And then he gets all these crazy exes or jealous madames or patrons or whatever. So yeah.
It sounds like what was that? Scott Steele? No, not Scott Steele. Scott Pilgrim versus the World and his like the 7 evil or 9 evil exes. Anyway, different movie, different story. So one of the things too, Howl is supposed to be one of the most powerful magicians or wizards out there, but why doesn't he recognize Sophie under the curse? Or do you think he recognized her? But like in the beginning, it seems like he doesn't recognize her at all.
I think in the movie, he kind of later on, not at first, not when she's like old and ugly, like he just or she kind of pushes her way in by staying. Like he didn't even want her to be a cleaning person, but she, just being blunt old lady, like I'm gonna clean. You're a slob. You're a mess. But no, Howl does realize that he has a curse. She has a curse on. And then he's like, where'd you get that piece of paper, Sophie? And it's like a sign or a signal from the Witch of the West. And he's like, yeah, I can't take this curse off of you. The person that cursed you is the only one who could take it off, kind of thing. So they do explain that in the movie somewhat. But I don't know. It never really shows how Howl thinks of Sophie in terms of like, once you turn old and like, I mean, but he doesn't reject her because she's just ugly. But I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know if he really realizes who she is.
And very much, this movie is a very Sophie-centered perspective. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we don't really get to see much of what Howl thinks very often, do we?
No, not really. And yeah, in the books too, I always wonder why it was called Howl's Moving Castle, because like, I mean, Sophie's basically the main character. Like and Howl doesn't even show up in this like sequel, the second book. Like it's not even about him. So
yeah. No, what were you gonna say, Benjamin?
It should be like Sophie and her terrible curse or something like that. I don't know. But no, I thought it was interesting. Like, wasn't the original book's name like Howl and his like fire demon Calcifer or something? What was the title?
The magician Howl and the fire demon is like, and then the subtitle is Howl's Moving Castle. Like that's not even the main title. That's like the subtitle.
Yeah. So I guess this is a good time to talk about like some of our like the best scenes or funniest lines. Like I think one of the what do you guys think is like one of the best scenes or funniest lines?
My favorite scene is where Howl throws a tantrum because his hair turned orange because Sophie cleaned his disgusting bathroom. He should be thanking her for cleaning that mess. But no, he complains like, I'm ugly, I have orange hair. What do you have against people with orange hair? Like, come on. But then he goes into this whole mess and blob and like throwing a fit and goes unconscious and just is in his own mucus. It's just disgusting. It's just, he's a drama queen. It's really funny though.
Yeah, I wrote down his line. He's like, I give up. I cannot see any point in living if I can't be beautiful.
And that's like where the best two lines come out, is like where he's complaining about being beautiful, and then like Sophie's like, I've never been fucking beautiful. Shut up. Like, it doesn't matter about that. Like, I'm old.
Yeah. He just turns into a blob and he doesn't do anything. He's just lying there on the fireplace with ooze coming out for hours. Like,
and then she has to clean that up too. Like, oh,
I know.
Poor Sophie.
I know.
He makes such a mess and she still has to clean it up. That was a really gross scene. Like with all of, like the green goo coming out, like you said, is mucus. But that was and. I remember so clearly that she had to bring this chair through, and she had like literally like swim through his mucus, and that was like, I think Sophie is like, the hero. Like, she just like takes care of Hal, cleans his place, cleans up after his mess, but he doesn't even say thanks. He's like, oh, it's all your fault. Oh, I just why did you do this? I'm like,
See, I don't think this relationship is even equal.
It's not.
I feel like Hal is getting the way better deal. And like, what is Hal giving to Sophie? He can't even break her curse for her. And she's like taking care of a big baby. I don't know. What's in it for Sophie? I mean, I don't know. That's probably a wrong way to look at relationships and saying, oh, what's in it for me? But
well, I do think like
Sophie's giving so much to Hal. Yeah. You're saying it's unequal? You're saying it's an unequal relationship?
Yeah, it's an unequal relationship, but right after that, he kind of explains more about his pathetic, miserable life of, like, never having a parents, growing up an orphan, and all that. And that's where it starts to change, and like, oh, you actually
That's just excuses,
man.
I
know, but he's like, someone actually took care of me. Like, I don't think he's ever had that human contact again, because he became so strong so young. He never had a family, he never grew up with love, and then she's kind of giving him unconditional love. No matter how unfair it is, she's still, taking care of him. And I think that's where his heart starts to change towards her.
Yeah.
And then after that, he shows a scene and tries to help her out with something during the chores, or buys her some vegetables or something. So, like, his attitude kind of changed after that.
Yeah.
After that scene.
So he starts to become normal, like a normal human being.
Well, I think he starts.
He's getting there.
Sophie comes into his life, and like he starts, I guess, to learn people skill for the first time, and like how other people actually care for him. And I think that really changes his world. And he notices like how like the beauty of like other people like that actually care for like people in general. And I think it regains his faith for humanity, not like just humanity in the sense, but like he like Sophie cares for him so much, and then like I think that helps him learn to care more about things. Like he really doesn't care about like anyone else. Like he doesn't care what isn't beautiful in his eyes. But then like I think his view starts to change, and he's able to see other people in different like set of lens. I think not just like beautiful and not beautiful, but like more of like that person, like the inside of that person, I would say, like not just the outward appearance, but that's
all those past relationships that Hal has been a very all just surface level relationships. For the first time, he's having like a real deep relationship with someone, right, Benjamin?
Yeah, I would definitely say so.
Yeah, I think like this. At least the books, the more topic is like honestly, it's what it is to be human, and that actually point is more like pushed because like the Witch of the Wasteland, she actually ends up wanting how Salimon, which is actually a male in the original books, And then the prince of the other land, she's trying to collect their pieces of flesh to create this perfect human, put that person wins over the world, and then marry that and become queen of the world. Like, that's her original mission in the books that never happens or never comes out in the movie. But the topic, like, the original stock is like, why are we so obsessed with eternal beauty that is outside, or what is beauty in the inside, and then what is this perfect human, or what does it mean to be human, is like the topic of the original books, which I don't know if it translates as much as it is in the books to the movie.
Yeah. So. In a way, Hayao Miyazaki, I do feel some sympathy for him because he had to take... It's always so difficult adapting novels into movies because you have so much source material and you only have an hour and a half or 2 hours of movie time. And you just cannot fit everything into one movie and do justice to the book. And in that sense, I do have some sympathy for him.
So, like, in terms of plot, like, yes, like, he couldn't cover everything, but the visual aspects, it literally is how I would imagine the book's world coming to life. So I have no, like, argument or, like, negative comment about the visual aspect of how he envisioned the world. It's gorgeous. It's beautiful. That's how I, like, imagine it reading the books. But there's the plot holes, and there always will be, but, you know, come on.
Okay, quick question. Like, who is your favorite character in this, like, story? Like, I think, I know I asked you guys, but my favorite character is Markle, or was, like, the apprentice of Howl.
Yeah.
I think he's really cute when he becomes the old guy. You know, he wears his hoodie and then he gets his beard, and I just really like him. And then, you know, he's one of the other people besides Sophie that, you know, actually, you know, he might have became an apprentice for Howl because, you know, he was the most powerful and all that. But I think in a sense, he helps Howl too. And, like, I just really like him as a character. I think he's really cute and, like, I like him. So, what about your guys' favorite character?
Yeah, I like Marco too. Like, that's the only, like, kind side of Howl you get to see. But, I mean, he's also an orphan, so that's probably why he had sympathy for him and took him in. But my favorite character, I mean, come on, it's Sophie. Like, she's so strong, and it takes her time to realize that. And, you know, it takes guts to tell someone you love, like, you know, that I understand you're beautiful, I understand these things, but you're hurt. Like, she kind of confronts him. You have to confront people you love. And I think that's the hardest thing for her. And she goes out of her way to do so many things for this person. I mean, Howl, obviously, but yeah, I do like how Hayao Miyazaki always creates these strong female characters. And I do admire him for not taking that away from the books. Yeah.
She is by far the most likable character in the whole story. And most sympathetic.
Yeah.
And she is also the most, I don't want to say heroic, but she is the person you would want to model yourself after. Heroes are people you want to model yourself after. Heroes are people you want to look up to. And I feel like she is by far the most heroic, or in that sense, the person you would most want to be like.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Okay, my favorite character, it's got to be Calcifer. It's so good. Calcifer, he's just got a lot of the best lines and his comebacks, and he's very much like Howl too. He's also very dramatic. He's very prissy. He's always like, "Oh, I'm dying. I'm fine. Give me firewood." Or he's like, "Oh, the water." Or like he's having like
he's
all
so
these like
sassy
scenes.
Too.
He is. He's really good. And, you know, deep, you know, we find out, in fact, he's a really powerful fire demon. He's like one of the strongest out there. But he's just got a really funny personality, great lines. I don't think the story would work without him. In a way, I think he's almost like Hayao Miyazaki made it in a way. He's like a comedic foil done right.
Yeah.
He's not like a Jar Jar Binks. Where people are going to hate that character. And all the comedy and all the funny things, people, you know, it just ruins the story. Like Calcifer, it doesn't at all. In fact, it makes the story so much better. And it's like one of the best examples of a good comedic character, I think. And I also want to mention that the voice acting in the English version was done by Christian Bale. He gives his whole heart into this performance. It's so good. Christian Bale, hey, I applaud your performance for Calcifer. That was fantastic.
That's really unlikely for me to think. He's such a sassy character, because, like, one of my favorite Calcifer lines is, like, I hate the fire and gunpowder. They have no manners. Like, they're, like, so low level than I. And, like, it's just, like, Christian Bale saying that. Oh, my gosh.
I really like the scene where, like, Calcifer is, like, eating all the eggshells, and he's like, give me more. I really like that scene. I think
he's just an adorable blob of fire.
Yeah, but I think, like, he is really important in the sense of, like, the story that, like, he's the one that's moving the castle. He's the one that gave, like, Howl his power, but, like, he's kind of but yeah, his role is comedic, but, like, I think he's really important, and, like, but, like, Miyazaki Hayao, like, really did a good job in, like, portraying that, I guess, and I think he's a really interesting character too. And
I just do wish they kept the part that Sophie had magic in the movie, because that explains so much more other things.
So would you like to talk about the ending?
Oh yeah, sure. I would like to talk about
because
the ending.
I think that'll like. That ending is very different depending on that perspective of whether Sophie has magic or not.
Right. So, like, in the movie, she doesn't have magic. She's just a normal girl, and, like, she somehow gets the heart back from the wrinkled old witch of the wasteland, and, takes Calcifer out in the castle to go back. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense.
I have my bones to pick about those, so we can come back and hit those later.
But, like, in the book, it's because Sophie has the magic power to give whatever she creates life is how she saves Howl and Calcifer together. Because they both would have died once they were removed or taken away from each other. But it's the fact that she has the magic to put life into whatever she touches is why she saves both of them. And in the movie, like, it's not explained at all. How does she save them? She just gives the heart back to Howl,
she, like,
and then Calcifer flies off.
And, like,
it's more of, like, the power of love kind of thing. I think they just push more the romance factor, like, oh, she just loved them so much, and, like, giving his heart back, and Calcifer's free again kind of thing. Yeah, it's just, I don't know. It is a happy ending. It's just, since I know the book, I'm not very happy about it, so.
Yeah.
What about the kissing on the scarecrow? Like,
kissing the scarecrow?
You actually
see, that was another okay. I have so many questions and bones to pick, and I'm just gonna interject. Like, in the movie, he turns out to be the prince.
Yeah.
And he was the cause of the war, which is true. And in the book, there's so much more explanation, but in the movie, you're like, what the heck? I don't care who you are. You barely come up in the story. Yeah, you were a scarecrow, but no one cares. All we care about is this romance between Howl and Sophie.
Yeah.
Like, you were just tacked on at the end. Just to, like, because you had to be there, but you don't care about the prince. And he's like, oh, I'm gonna go stop the war. And you're like, oh, fuck the war. Who cares about you? Show us more Sophie and Howl.
I know, because, the movie never really explains the importance of the prince from the other country. Like, and that's the most important part of the plot and, like, one of the books. And, well, the reason why he, at least in the movie, is because he was cursed that if someone doesn't fall in love with him for true love and kisses him, he will never turn back from a scarecrow.
But Sophie's not even in love with him. She just kisses him.
He loves her. His true love. If his true love kisses him.
I still have a problem with that. Time out. Okay. So that means that he can fall in love with anyone. And he's like, oh, that girl walking there, I'm in love with her. No,
but she has to kiss him. Like, how's that going to happen? No, but I think, he can't even talk.
I think the scarecrow was, like, really, like, he was a gentleman. I think, like, when it was raining, he had the umbrella. Remember that? Like, you said he was like, he was like nobody. But I think he was, like, very, he would help her with the laundry. He would be like the host. And I think he was.
And he guided her to Howl's castle too, right?
He's the one that kind of, in a sense, like, help them meet each other. Like
I forgot about that.
Mm-hmm,
yeah, he's the one who shows her in the first place. Oh wow!
In many ways, he's the gentleman that Howl never was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's Prince Justin. Like, his name never comes up, like, but it's Prince Justin. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
What about
they should have either done more to give us more about that character, or just like totally got rid of him together.
Well, again, they don't really explain the motive of the Witch of the West, which she's not really the bad guy even in the whole movie. Solomon is, and that's the whole other thing.
Yeah, Solomon is portrayed as the movie, right?
Yeah. And Solomon's not the bad guy in the book, so it's just who you do the bad guy and stuff. But he's the key character in terms of, like, she needs him to create the perfect human to rule over all the lands and stuff in the book, but he's not, so yeah.
Actually, that's a great thing. I remember, Benjamin, your favorite scene, you were telling us earlier that it was the scene when Howl sends Sophie, his supposed mother, to go confront Madame Solomon, right?
Yeah.
But then Howl shows up to save her?
Yeah. I thought, like, you know, Howl was this kind of, like, heavy boyfriend. He's like, oh, like, do this for me, do that for me, and he sends her instead of, you know, he's just lazy. He's like, oh, I don't want to go to the palace, so they called me, but, you know, I think they'll give up on me if I send my supposed mother, you know, who's actually Sophie, and, you know, like, she'll probably use her, like, old woman, like, you know, nagging power to, like, you know, make them give up on me. And,
so
you know,
mean.
And then, but, like, and she goes and she actually meets the Witch of the Waste, and, you know, they have, like, a little scene and all that, but, like, I think it was good in the sense that, like, starting out, like, you know, he just lost the color of his hair. He's really depressed, and that's why he was like, "Oh, go do this for me. I don't feel like it. You know, I really don't feel like it." But then later on, like, you know, like you said, like, Solomon actually isn't the bad guy in the book, but like in the movie, at least, you know, like, Solomon tries to capture, you know, like, activates her magic and all that, and then, but like, Hal kind of swoops in and, you know, and saves her, and I think that shows, like, I think that was the turning point in Howl, I kind of feel like, where he, like, actually starts to care about Sophie, and, like, his view changes towards her, and, like, I think, that's why I think that was a really good scene, and, like, that, it represented the change within Howl, and then Sophie, like, when she's actually talking with Solomon, like, she gets confident, and she starts to get younger and younger, and then, like,
for the first time, she declares her love for Howl, right? She's like, yeah, I am in love with Howl.
She's, like, confident. She's really confident. And, like, on the way back, she, again, like, grows, like, older again. But, like, I think that was really important. And, like, I thought it was really nice how, like, I mean, Howl did ditch her. Like, you know, he's like, oh, I need to go. And he just gives her a ring and, you know, like, oh, just so this ride is really easy. Just ride back home and all that. And he was like, again, he was really trashed there. And he just flies off. But, like, I think that, like, ring that he gave to, like, for her to guide her, like, that pointed the way back to the castle, I think that was really, in a sense, romantic, but, like, he shows his care towards her. So, like, that's why I thought it was a really good scene.
And I guess you were saying that it's the first time we see Howl do something for Sophie and not the other way around.
Yeah, and right after that, he goes back and, you know, recreates her shop for her, makes a house for her, and connects his door from the moving castle to her shop.
Yeah.
And, like, he's doing something nice for her after that. But it never happens till, that scene, so, yeah.
Yeah. And I remember you were, one of the best, like, later on in the movie, too, he has that really good line where Sophie is kind of asking him, like, hey, why did you come back? And then he responds, you know, oh, why? You know, I've run away enough. I've run around enough. But I've finally found someone I really want to protect.
I know. And then I'm like, oh, my heart. Ah.
Yeah, it's so good.
It's romantic.
I want someone to say that to me, whisper into my ear, I finally found someone I want to protect, and that's you. Okay, maybe it sounds cheesy when I'm saying it. It's so damn cheesy. But, like, when you hear it in the movie... Well, I don't know. Maybe you still think it's cheesy, but at least it's pretty good.
Yeah, it's good cheese. Good cheese.
Yeah, it's good cheese, yeah.
What was your problem with the ending? You said you really didn't like the ending. Like, how, like, Sophie changes her mind and all that. Like, explain about that, Joseph.
Well, the nitpicking. Just another nitpick. So, Sophie sees Howl fighting the war in the distance, and they're in the wasteland, and she's like, we need to go save Howl. We need to go save Howl. And she, like, tries to get the Witch of the Waste and Merkel and Calcifer to go save him. But she's like, alright, Calcifer, in order to save him, you need to destroy the castle. And Calcifer's like, no, you don't understand. If you take me out of the castle's gonna get destroyed. And she's like, oh, it's okay. Trust me. And she takes him out of the castle, and the castle crumbles to the ground. And then she just turns around and she's like, wait, no, Calcifer, create a castle. We need to move the castle to go save Howl. And I was just thinking, like, why the heck? Why couldn't you just go save Howl in the castle first and then destroy the castle? Why did you have to destroy the castle and then turn around and ask Calcifer to create it again?
I think it was because of the door connection. Like, if they kept the door connection in the original castle, the enemy could find them. So she had to break it first and then recreate it. And that's where, like, she had to make another pathway. And isn't that the first time she goes through the black door?
Yeah, I think
the first time she goes through the black door is after the castle has been destroyed and it's in ruins at the bottom of the valley. By that point, the castle is already destroyed.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it was a little bit more...
I thought it was after that she realized they need to go get Howl. It wasn't like just get out of the castle, break, go into the door. And then she goes into the door and then comes out and said, okay, now we need to go get Howl. Like, it doesn't make sense. I understand. I
think it shows her, like, in a sense, it's kind of psychological in the sense that, like, you know, you felt it really weird, but I think, like, in the sense, like, she's still, like, she's changed a lot, but, like, I think it's the same mindset that she had in the beginning that, like, I have to, like, leave, or, like, you know, she's like, we have to go away, like, you know, break the castle and all that, but I feel like it was saying that, you know, she was like, not because of me, but, like, it's causing trouble, so, like, that's why I have to, like, go away, or in a sense, like, you know, but, like, then she notices that, you know, Hal actually needs someone, like, that, you know, I need to be besides him, and so, like, she really gains confidence, and, like, that's why she chooses to go back and help, you know, Hal. So that's just how I view it. Like, I know it, like, surface level, I think it really doesn't make sense, but I don't think, like, Miyazaki, like, Hayao wasn't that, like, careless in the sense of just, like, making that kind of, in a sense, like, contradicting scene. I wouldn't think he would just do that, and I think there was something a bit more deeper, but that's just what I think.
But he admitted himself. He was like, yeah, the ending was kind of messed up.
Yeah.
He did too.
He did.
But okay, fine. All right, yeah. I thought it was interesting too that the original author of the books, she actually said that even though the movie version was very different from her books, that she actually liked the movie too. Yeah. That it was pretty good. So I think in that sense, they're like, if the author thought it was good, or that Hayao Miyazaki did a good job, then, like, there are its flaws, but... Okay, another flaw. Why? So the Witch of the Waste has always been trying to get Howl's heart.
Yeah.
And she takes the heart out of Calcifer, and she's, like, holding it and clutching it. And, you know, Howl's, like, dying over there or something. And Sophie goes to the witch, and she's like, no, you need to give the heart back to Howl. And, like, the whole time the witch this has been her whole, at least in the movie, her whole mission has been trying to get the heart of Howl. But the moment Sophie, and, like, she's clutching it, and she's, like, you know, in part, she's holding on to it for a good portion of the movie. But the moment Sophie walks up to her, and at the end of the movie, it's just like, oh, fine. I guess this is pure love. Well, whatever. And she just gives up the heart, which... Again, that's fine. It makes a great ending. You know, the story wouldn't end without the heart back in Howl. But if you were such a selfish person that your whole life up until this whole point has been trying to take the heart, and you didn't give a crap about what happened to Howl or the Calcifer or anyone else, that you wanted that heart so much. But the moment Sophie walks up to, and is the rival too, who you thought was, you know, going out with Howl or something, is she asks for the heart. She's like giving it up.
But you have to realize, by that time, all her magic was taken away from Salamand, and she's just this really old dementia old grandma. She doesn't know what she's doing. I mean, she's not even a witch anymore. More at that point in the movie, it's just her obsession was still there. So she just kind of knew she wanted the heart, but she didn't really know why, is my interpretation, at least in the movie. And that's why she's like, oh, actually, Sophie was kind to me. I like her, so I'll give it back, kind of thing. She's even older than Sophie by that point.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. I thought it really reminded me of like Gollum in Lord of the Rings. It's like, my precious! And like...
Yeah. Yeah, that heart's just trying so hard to get. Okay, just two more things I wanted to hit on. Do you think this is, let's just focus on the movie, not the books, but do you think this animation or this movie was do you think it has a feminist message or not?
I would say almost every, like, Studio Ghibli movie has a female protagonist. I don't think, like, I mean, I guess that's why I like Marco Rosso so much, is like, it's a kind of, in a sense, first, like, male protagonist. Like,
it's Porco Rosso,
excuse me, Porco Rosso.
Mark Rosso.
Mark Rosso, never mind.
Okay,
but, like,
Porco Rosso.
That's what I liked about Porco Rosso. But, like, I just think that throughout, like, all his movies, it's mostly surrounded by, like, this girl or, like, this female protagonist. And I think, like, he really has that strong, like, female characters that are, like, very, like, you know, speaking up, you know, like, trying to, like, acting boldly and, you know, not fearing, being very brave. And I think that's the whole part, like, theme around, like, Miyazaki Hayao, like, movies.
Yeah, I would agree. I would say that it is, I don't know if it'd be feminist, but because I would say it's female empowering, but not necessarily feminist, because it doesn't really touch on, like, the male-female equal part, but, like, it's empowering, I can't say this word, empowering females, because you see yourself in these characters. You see, like, not just girls, but, like, males. I think you see yourself in these characters, and they're being so vulnerable in their emotions and stuff, and just their self-discovery, self-realization, and growth is what's so appealing. And it's empowering for little girls to see this female character choosing and going on these adventures and accomplishing great things. So I've always loved Studio Ghibli for that, yeah.
Well, let me just play the devil's advocate. Because I agree, for most movies, most of Studio Ghibli's movies, it's good. They are strong female protagonists. They have a strong female empowering message.
Yeah.
This one, I think you can take it the other way. And going back to that unequal relationship with Howl, especially. So, because here, it's in many ways, it's if you can take it as a way of, like, glorifying a woman serving a man. The man is not even doing anything for Sophie, at least not in the beginning. And Sophie is having to sacrifice so much and take care of Howl. And, you know, she's doing his laundry for him. She's cleaning up the house for him. She's preparing his meals for him while Howl goes off and flirts with other girls. Like, I don't know. Is that really an empowering message? Because it kind of almost says, like, hey, you know what, women, you're supposed to do the laundry. You're supposed to clean the house. You're supposed to make the food for the men.
I mean, that's the point. So that's the point the book was supposed to bring up, is, like, why are we like this? The book was supposed to criticize of the male-dominant, male works outside, gets a job done, and the female is the one who works inside and does all the cleaning and serves the men. Like, that's what the book was supposed to criticize. But again, in the movie,
it's not really criticizing that. It's
actually
glorifying that.
It agrees with it. Yeah, I would say yes. The movie version does agree with that. So
this is like, I agree that most of his movies are good, but I just felt like in this one movie, you could take it the opposite way.
Yeah, but I think like, I agree. Like you said, it's like starting out it was like that, but it does change. You know, like Sophie goes out and talks to Solomon, one of the most powerful magicians, and like. I guess you're right, like, she, you know, not the majority of the movie, but, like, she's, like, you know, she's starting out sewing, you know, making hats, and then she's doing cooking, cleaning up for Hal, doing laundry, and all that typical, like, gender stereotype of, like, how females like have to say instead. But I feel like the movie, like, you know, it doesn't stay that way. I think that's what the movie's trying to tell. Like, you don't have to you don't have to be like bound by like your gender like stereotype that you have to do this or that. And like, again, like Hal is like, you know, he doesn't show much of his emotions until later on, and like, you know, he's actually really childish inside, but like, you know, before he's like this perfect, powerful magician. And I think like men, like, you know, don't show their emotions as much. But again, I think this is like kind of, you know, like trying to say that you could actually care for people, you could like show your emotions, and it's for both. I think for both sides, it's very a positive message. I don't know, like it depends on how you view it. Like there's different perspectives, I mean, you could view it differently from the different perspectives, but that's just what I think.
Okay. All right. Well, I think I do still have other questions about this movie, but I think I've hit the most burning ones on my side. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about the movie?
I already said this. I just wish they included the magical Sophie version.
That's true.
Yeah.
Well, all right. Well, I think it's good time to wrap up our podcast right here. Thank you, Joy, for joining us on this podcast.
Thanks for inviting me.
We really enjoyed having you.
Yeah.
Thank you for imparting all your wisdom and knowledge onto us. We have been very blessed by your presence.
Yeah, sure. keep the compliments coming. Yeah, I want more.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but
you're so smart. You're so beautiful. You're so like Sophie. Sorry. Okay, Benjamin, please.
I think you gave us a really good and like fresh perspective. You know, it's just when it's just Joseph and me, you know, it kind of gets boring, and you know, Joseph says the same thing all the time. And
I don't.
No, I'm kidding. No, but I really appreciate you, Joy, for like joining us.
Isn't it good to have a female on the cast? Woo.
Yes, you know, we can show that we're like, you know, gender neutral. We have all the women's perspective, not just guys, or not just but no, thank you, Joy. Thank you so much for joining us, and it's been I really enjoyed this podcast, and not just this time, but like I think it's really good to have guests, and so please, if anyone wants to join us, feel free to contact us, and all that good stuff.
Yeah, it's fun being a guest. Be a guest. Join the talk. But if you ever talk about Pokoroso, call me back again, because I want to talk about Pokoroso.
Okay. Well, we'll let you know. Alright, well, thank you. Minasan arigatou gozaimasu. Thank you for joining our podcast today. That will be it. Next week's podcast it's a secret. We'll tell you next week. So tune in next week to find out. I hope you enjoyed this episode. We hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Thanks for listening. Please give us a review and a rating on iTunes or any podcast listening app that you have. Please contact us if you're interested in joining the show as a guest. We're excited. We're having a pretty good lineup of guests coming up in the next few weeks. So please stay tuned. Okay, I think that's it. 皆さん、ありがとうございました。I'll see you guys next week.
See you.
またねー。
はい、じゃあ、またねー。